Back on Mitchell's S14, the RB2630 S14. In the last video of this thing, you saw Justin do a complete teardown of the engine. Basically do a checkup of the engine because it has been sitting for a considerable amount of time. We wanted to get in there, make sure nothing's happened. Basically, rust is the biggest concern when you let an engine sit. Make sure it hasn't rusted up in there. Nothing's gone weird, nothing's funny happened. So did that, engine sweet, all good. So we put the engine back together. But before we could put the engine back in the car, we had to do the underbody restoration that we do to these cars.
Nice wheels, Samuel.
Thank you.
Both feet on the skateboard.
Do a kickflip.
Come on. You got this.
No, don't misbehave at work. Up on the hoist. Juddy got it all sorted, got it all masked up, painted. It looks immaculate under there, looks $1 million. And from there, you can go ahead and we can start putting everything back together. So we've got the nice RB2630 back sitting in the engine bay. It looks incredible. And from here, it looks pretty close to being done, which in the grand scheme of things, it is, but there is still a lot of work to do. So we're gonna get cracking on with that. And yeah, if you haven't already, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Enjoy the content, enjoy the video. What I am currently working on is the radiator situation. So obviously these cars came out with an SR20, and an SR20 is much shorter than an RB, approximately back here somewhere.
That's a long one.
On the RB to SR scale. So that means we have some limitations with space at the front of the engine bay. And because Mitchell wanted to retain his aircon, as you can see, we've got this is our air conditioning condenser. You can buy tucked radiators that basically go where the AC condenser is, but obviously we can't get rid of the AC condenser because he wants to keep aircon. So we've got some space limitations for our radiator. So basically what I'm working on is we have a very, very nice PWR radiator core here. And I think I spoke about this in a reel the other day. We were talking about intercoolers and how the difference is actually in the core that they use. It's a very similar story with radiators. So if you look in here, if you looked inside a cheaper radiator core, you can see all these little separate sections, right? So every single little extra line you see there basically is more surface area for the coolant to dissipate its heat into the radiator. Without all those extra little fins in the middle of there, you basically reduce your surface area that the coolant is actually coming into contact with, and it's surface area that is what actually lets the heat exit the coolant into the radiator, out through the air coming through the radiator. It's cool. What's the word? Convection, I think, is the word. Convection is basically how it works. It's either convection or... No, it'd be convection. Convection sounds right? Takes the heat out of... I think it's convection. If I'm wrong, put it... Yeah, go on, Justin. Justin's got nothing. Yes, convection, yes. Anyway, so it's surface area that is actually what makes a efficient core. And you can see with all these tiny little passages, you get a lot more surface area, whereas a cheaper radiator might only have, say, 3 partitions. So if they've got 3 partitions and we've got, what's that, 9-ish roughly at a quick guess, we're tripling our surface area, essentially. It wouldn't be that exact, but you can understand where I'm coming from. So we've got a very, very lovely core here. It's somewhat small, but it fits in the space. And even though it's small, it's got a great design. So pretty much we're putting as good of a core in the small space that we've got to maximize our cooling system efficiency. So because it's a core only, obviously there's no end tanks on here, so we've got to make end tanks. You can see I've got a couple little bits here that I've been sort of playing around with. This is a 50mm end tank, and obviously that looks quite proportionally correct to the radiator. However, because we've got somewhat of a smaller core, we're basically thinking that we're going to put the largest end tanks on that we can fit in the space. That way our cooling system capacity is as great as we can get it. That way, if our radiator was, say, a little bit small, but we've got more capacity, you can kind of offset things that way. So if you've got a cheap radiator, but it's huge, you'll still get away with it because you've got such capacity that it doesn't need to be 100% efficient. If that makes Dylan's nodding, so if he gets it, you get it.
I'm just nodding to keep you.
Keep me going. Yeah, all right. So basically, we're going to use big end tanks so we can get sort of as much capacity in this thing as we can. So this is a 75 mil section that I've cut out here, and that's just going to get welded on to each side of the tank. Obviously, we're going to go the full length, but that's what we're working on at the moment. I've got this section of steel alley over there. If you want to go look at that, sure, we can go look at that. This is it here. So this is a 50 by 150 mil section of aluminium. So we're just going to basically cut this down the guts of it. That'll give us our two 75 mil tanks. Weld them on, cap both ends, and then we've got to weld a few fittings on, and that's pretty much it, because this car is running a Hypertune, which utilises a swell pot or an expansion tank. So some cars have most cars, most commonly the radiator cap is found on the radiator. In this setup, the radiator cap is found on the expansion tank, so it's separate to the radiator. So we don't have to put a radiator cap or anything like that on the radiator itself. If I get super excited, I might put a fill port on the radiator just so you can top the radiator up separate to the engine. But the swell pot setup has feed lines to the radiator, so it's just basically like a safety in case you get any sort of air bubble issues. Obviously, like cooling systems are notoriously hard to bleed on some cars, so anything we can do to eliminate having that issue when you're trying to bleed your cooling system is a good thing. So waiting for Dane, he's just going to buy a circular saw so that we can cut this down nice and easily. If you didn't know, you can use circular saws, you can buy metal blades with them, so you can get a very nice, clean, straight cut on aluminium, which is what we're going to do. And then, yeah, after we do that, we'll tape the end tanks on, sit it in there, see what it looks like. Once we finish the radiator, once that's all welded out, we're going to move on to making a fan shroud. So hopefully we can get the cooling system side of Mitchell's car done, and yeah, we won't have to come back to that. We can move on to the next stage. Yeah, all right, well that'll work. Actually, it doesn't look that bad, and it kind of looks about right. Yeah. That's hot. Ow! That's sharp. Little piece of metal gets hot too quickly. while Dan's been welding that radiator out for me, I have moved on to the next sort of stage on Mitchell's car, which I've started doing, is putting the body harness back in the car. So we've got the factory fuse box here that would usually sit up inside the engine bay, and what we've done is basically run it underneath the guard where it would usually run, and instead of putting it through the wheel tub where it would normally go, we've left it out the side here. I then run all of the light wiring along and plugged all that in, so the lights are all plugged in. And pretty much I have pulled the fuse box apart, pulled out some of the plugs and relays and stuff that we're not going to use. We're not going to use any of that, so that'll all just get tucked away. But pretty much this car is going to retain air conditioning and power windows and the climate control module and all that sort of stuff. So it still had a decent body harness in it, so there's no point trying to redo all that when all of the body functions all worked and are in good condition. So there's no point in trying to remake all of that when the stuff that's in it is currently good. Probably the main deciding factor for keeping the actual body harness was the fact that he wanted to keep the aircon. So to keep the aircon, we want to keep the little center, like climate control portion that controls the temperature and the fan and all that sort of stuff. We want to keep all those factory controls working, and the best way to do that is to just utilize the factory body harness. So that's what we're doing here. And all I'm doing now is tucking the fuse box. We're doing a fuse box relocation essentially. So we don't have the big ugly factory fuse box hiding, not hiding, the opposite of hiding, sitting up in the engine bay looking all gross. So pretty much what we're going with is we've got the fuse box all tidied up here out of its original box and as compact as I can get it essentially. And we're pretty much going to be tucking it inside of the front bar, basically right there where it's sitting. I have already started working on a box for this, so we can play the time lapses of that stuff now, but I've got the box made. I've got one bracket on it. I'm about to go and weld the second bracket on it. Once I've got those on there, I will work on mounting the actual blocks themselves into that box, and then we've just got to cut a couple relief holes. So this is basically the main positive terminal, if you will, that will power the fuse box. So pretty much that's going to come from our alternator straight to this, and yeah, then all of our body will have power again. I'm going to have to go inside and plug it all back in because it has all been out of the car when it got panel and painted. So obviously this is a mess in here, but plug all this back in, put it all up in its spots where it's meant to go, and then yeah, we can pretty much put a battery in it. I can run the battery cables, and we'd be able to power the body harness up. So that's probably the next big step for this thing, is to have power to all of the body modules, so the windows work, the lights work, all that sort of stuff. So we'll go get this other bracket welded on, and yeah, we'll keep cracking on. But this is the dog, the rig, the box. Don't know. Maybe you can tell by the water on the ground, or I mean, you can't even tell at all really. It's just been pissing down rain, so it's obviously great weather to do some painting. It's actually turned out pretty good. We got all the brackets on, painted, foams on the inside, got holes drilled to screw the actual fuse block in to the bracket. Once that's dry, we can put it back in the car, and yeah, that's pretty much done from there, and then we can start running some power cables to it. Power it up. All right, quick little update where we're at on the S14. I think last thing I showed you, I was doing the fuse box, And that is now up there and painted and sitting up there. It's all attached, not going anywhere. It is, look, I'm not gonna lie, it will be close to the bar, but the problem that I've got at the moment is we don't actually have the front bar that we're gonna run on this car here. So I'm using another bar and it looks like it's gonna clear, but I can't get that bar all the way on because it would need to be trimmed for the intercooler, and I don't wanna go ahead and trim that bar because it's not the right one, and blah, 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 blah. So I'm 95% confident it's gonna fit. It's pretty much as slim as I can get it, or as sleek as I can get it, with the cooler pipe and everything where it is, and it should fit under the bar, no worries. But yeah, basically I'm not going to go any further with that. It's 90% done, and obviously I just got to zip tie and place all that sort of stuff up where it needs to go, and run the power cable up to the main stud there. But that's good enough for now. I've left that where it is, and I've come back to the radiator. So Dane had this all welded out for me. We've got I think the last thing that I actually spoke to you about on this was the lower mounts. I was trying to explain how I was going to make them, and I was made a mess of that. So I was just going to show you. So this is them. Basically, if I can get all my cardboard out of the way, I don't even know if you'll be able to see it, but if you can see it, basically I've got a little tab here with the pin coming off it. The pin is welded to the tab is welded to the radiator. So they're all done, they're all in the car, and they go into the factory little spots. And then we've got all the tanks welded on, we've got all the fittings welded on here. So like I said, because this is using a swirl pot or an expansion tank, we don't actually need a radiator cap on here, so to speak. So we've got our 4 fittings that'll be going to our manifold and swirl pot, and then we've got our big bottom fitting here, which is essentially the bottom radiator hose. And then what you can't see internally here, there is a divider to make this like a dual pass radiator. So basically water will come in the top hoses here, file across the top half of the radiator, down the end tank, and then back across the bottom and out the bottom hose. If we didn't have that divider in there, the water would basically just go into the end tank, down the end tank and back out, which clearly wouldn't work. It wouldn't actually do anything a radiator is meant to do. So moving on from that, a lot of talking, but this was meant to be a quick update, and it's never is once I pick up the camera. It's never quick. I started working on the fan shroud. I've got the rough shape here, and we basically got our brackets on the side here. I've got them kicked up at the moment, and then basically we're going to kick them up, kick them back flat across, and then they will bolt onto these little weld-on threaded hole things that I've made. I don't know what you want to call them. A weld-on thread. So basically, we're going to kick that back flat. It'll bolt onto these, and then obviously we'll weld these to the tanks, and then the shroud will just bolt onto the radiator. Then I'll cut the fan hole out. Fan will go on. And that'll be it. That's the fan there. So this is a Maridine 12-inch fan. I think it's 1600 CFM, which was pretty much the largest CFM I could get in a 12-inch fan, which a 12-inch fan is the biggest one that we can fit because of the space that we've got in the thing, the crank and all that sort of stuff. So, and we still have to offset it slightly off center to be able to fit it. So yeah, let's basically line this up, take a measurement, bend these back on both sides, and then we can weld them on and yeah, cut some holes and she'll be sweet. Touch above 15. Everything's wet. This is the document. And we will come back to it. Oh, it's already dropping.
So we're just hoping that it doesn't drop pressure?
Yeah. It'll inevitably drop a little bit because there's still a tiny bit of air in there and air compressors. So if we lose like a PSI or two over like 10 minutes,
It's okay.
We
We just don't want to lose lots.
just don't want to lose all of the pressure because that means it leaks.
Yeah.
Terrible.
We good?
Yeah. She's still above 15. Hasn't dropped since I said it. Remember I said, oh, it dropped. It hasn't dropped since I said it dropped. So, wow. She's good. We can paint it.
Yeah.
Although it's shit weather for painting today, so we might not paint it today unless the sun comes out. But it's ready to be painted. We can put the shroud on, put the fan on, put it in the car. So that's good. Come with me. Okay. It's not bad.
Not a bad fit?
It's not a bad fit. It's quite close there, but that's because that weld's extra big.
Oh, a big thick weld.
It's a big thick weld, but I should be able to like. That's all right. We can work with that. I think I'm gonna have to take these stickers off now because the tape peeled part of it off. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Oh no.
Oh no!
That's very unsatisfying.
It is terribly, isn't it? I also made the other sticky dirty. So.
Oh shit.
Oh no!
Oh no.
Oh no!
This is where you pay us the big bucks.
Yeah, we got it though.
It's the attention
Look
to
at that.
detail. Whoa.
Here's a little trick for you, and then just.
Oh.
It's not working.
Sims life hacks.
Nice. All right.
So, are you talking about the radiator that we built?
Not really, no.
What are you doing?
Just doing an update where the car's at.
Same as what it was yesterday?
Yeah, but we haven't done it since
Not wide.
since we finished the radiator.
It's not finished, it's not painted.
Yeah, but we can't paint it because it's raining. That's the whole point of the update, so that we can finish the video.
Oh.
Mitchell's car, quick little update on where we're up to. The radiator is in, it is all finished, the tank's on, the shroud's made, the fan, everything like that. It's all put together and in the car. Don't know what he just said, but anyway. Not painted, yes. Yes, so the only dilemma that we've got at the moment is the weather's been absolutely atrocious for the last, like, week and plus. Eternity, yeah. It's just been too cold or rainy. It's either been sunny and rainy or cold and not sunny. And so I need sunny and not rainy to be able to paint anything worth painting. So I don't want to touch the radiator until we've got some good weather so that we actually get a decent paint job on it. But I've just got it thrown together and put in the car so that we can progress with everything else so that the radiator's sort of taking its place. We can do the rest of the plumbing for the radiator. How are we feeling about it? It's pretty good, pretty happy. It's nice and tight. We got it all in there. We got the biggest fan possible. We did have to offset the fan to the radiator, but the way that works out is it actually looks like it's centered to the engine because RBs sit on a lean. So the fan is actually central to the engine. So it actually looks, if you look, the fan is centered to the engine, but not in the radiator. So it's a bit of a, yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
I think it looks good.
You picking up what I'm putting down? Yeah, I didn't say it didn't look good. I was just saying. Why? You don't think it looks good?
I just said I think it looks good. That's what I just said.
But yeah, anyway, that's that. Radiator's on. So pretty much from here, going to crack on into the spicy wiring, the Nexus engine harness and all that sort of stuff. So is that it for this video? We're doing an outro? What are we doing? Or was that an intro?
Basically an outro. Yeah, this is basically it. You got any final thoughts for the people?
Final thoughts for the people. Get your tax returns in and spend all your money at the parts shop. We're doing something a little bit different with this one. We're doing, well, it's not really different at all. It's just a slightly different way, or it's something that I've never done before. We're doing like a bulkhead connector for the engine harness. So rather than having it pass through the firewall as one big harness, it's going to go through a bulkhead. So the engine harness will just be on a singular plug, which is pretty cool. Something I haven't really done before. Not that it's really any different. It's just one extra giant plug, but Aesthetically for the engine, it'll look pretty nice, I think, because most of the wiring you won't actually see, which is cool. But yeah, that's it.